All right. Hey, Sam. Glad to have you back here. Super excited to talk about your experience with Authority Author Accelerator and jam about life before, life after, and kind of where you see yourself moving forward into 2024 as we are on the cusp of that. To kick things off, just kind of walk me through, the books you've written, the vision you've had for yourself back in July or last summer before we kind of got working together in August, and now the work you're doing in the program that we've helped you construct today.
Thanks, Owen. I appreciate it, man, and thanks for giving me the opportunity both on this platform and with your program. So basically, yeah, I've written two books. One came out just recently in December, which is on masculinity in America. So basically, toxic maturity is the name of it. But the book that we've been most familiar with working with was called Value Economics: The Study of Identity, which came out in June of 2022. And so that one came out. It was very kind of successful by all the metrics you measure books on. It was two-time number one Amazon bestseller in two different categories. It was in a Forbes article, a lot of good press, a lot of podcasts, a lot of people personally had impact towards it and everything. And so I remember I only wrote the book really to please four people, being my grandparents, then my parents, and surprisingly, all four of them liked it, even though I cursed a little bit too much for some of their likings. But that was kind of the situation there. And I remember, but they are my grandparents and my parents. And I remember asking my dad, kind of like, "Hey, Dad, like, what did you actually think about the book?" And so, because he's a straight shooter, but he's also my father, and so he said, Sam, objectively, it was very good, but I just had one massive problem with it. And I said, "Well, what was the massive problem? Like, please let me know, tell me." And he said it wasn't actionable enough. And which is true because, a book is meant to be read. It's not meant to, go out and I would say spring you into action with whatever. And so I kind of said, like, okay, what would that look like if I were to take action on it from, a certain point to another certain point? And so I kind of really had the idea going for what my business was going to be for a while. And so our prospective idea. And then it just so happens that you and I get in contact. I think I liked one of your posts and then you connected with me and we started DMing one another back and forth. And I got on a call with you and I was honestly very, very impressed in terms of, your style of going forward with everything else. I thought you were very well prepared. Your content was very professional looking. You were relatable from a sense. Not only I'm a little bit younger than you, but not that much. And so we're kind of at a similar phase in life where you have a lot of things, I would say figured out that I don't. And also, I think basically on the way that my mind works, you are a really good fit from that standpoint as well, because you are, I think, are a really good combination of the two of these things, because you are an innovator in some ways, but I'm really lacking on my operational capabilities of running a business, which is where I was most concerned about going into an entrepreneurial venture such as this. So I was not very good at marketing, at content generation, at operations, and all these sorts of things. And you were very good and told me that you could basically help me build all of those systems so I would have a functioning operation in place as I went through it. And so that was really my differentiator in terms of where I wanted to go throughout the program. And so I knew kind of the structure of the content and everything, but I didn't know how to build it out and formalize it, systematize it to make it monetizable. So that was really what was the deciding factor for me in terms of getting it over the line. I knew I had, I think, a solid idea, but I just didn't know how to go about bringing it forward. And now that we're kind of going to market with it, I'm seeing the fruits of both of those things, I think.
Amazing, man. Love to hear all that. Yeah, just to pivot a bit for a quick moment, not so much on your experience, but I love that you saw the angle that there's more to this book. There's more to deliver the value through some other mechanism. And as you know now, like a lot of authors are just very fixated on the book selling process. And I'm pushing the narrative that there's a lot more you could do, whether it's build the coaching, the consulting, or the speaking. So just quickly on that note, like what could you kind of share to a reader, to an author who, yes, we want to sell books and that's important, but like, how did you kind of come about, other than your dad kind of pushing you to say you got to have some more better mechanism here to promote action? But what kind of opened your eyes to the idea that the book is a launch pad? It's a tool for far more income and impact.
Well, I have to give, I think, first credit to the inspiration because I was in that category as well, like you said, where I just thought the book would kind of sell itself. And like my ideas, like I had like the inner narcissism where like my idea was so good that it's going to just fly off the shelves and do all the things like that. And that's just clearly not how it works, especially being removed from the process almost a year and a half now. But I actually got really good advice from the person who signed me to my first book deal at the for what was formerly known as Scribe Media, a gentleman by the name of Miles Rote, who went and basically said his idea is that your book is a bargaining chip. Your book automatically establishes you as an
Gotcha.
expert in the field. And he basically said that basically when, like, say, for example, you want to speak at a convention or a conference or something, and you go into the person that is helping book talent for that conference or convention, and their first question is most likely going to be something like, why should you speak at this conference or convention or, procedure or whatever it might be? And then you wouldn't have to say a single word. You basically just reach down, you give them a copy of your book and say, that's why you should hire me. And I thought that that was very powerful as a point of leverage. And so I didn't necessarily see myself in terms of that point again. But I think what advice I would give to other authors is that know that you've done probably the hardest part of creating the business, which is the value that it's embedded inside of the intellectual property. And I think that's a very, very big differentiator from a lot of other people. I know a lot of guys who are in the online space in terms of fitness or mental health or all the other types of niches. And my biggest advice for all of them to look to get traction is to go write a book, like go write something that differentiates you from a lot of other people, because I have a lot of fitness friends. And so I think the fitness industry is a really good example to kind of use as a case study for this, because it's almost
Yeah.
kind of a race to the bottom in terms of, who could be better, faster, cheaper from helping you lose weight or lift more or get better nutrition or something like that. But I would think what would elevate a lot of people over people in that industry specifically, but also other industries, is that you have this trademarked method or brand or something about yourself that really kind of, automatically differentiates you. And you say that my stuff is better because I am better, and my stuff is also better because I have this defined thing that I have created and architected in my mind. And so what I would say to other authors is that if you're able to articulate that thing well, there are a bunch of people online that can teach you how to do sales or accounting or content creation or everything like that. But only you can really teach you how to do what you have kind of broadcast to the world with your book. So it's a lot of things embedded inside of your concept and the idea for a book. And I think it's all about recognizing truly what you're working with, because it's probably a lot more than you're giving yourself credit for, particularly if you're a humble person.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. I love just quickly on that frame, like if you got a coaching business, write the book. If you got a book, build a coaching business. So vice
Right.
versa, like
Yeah.
it suits both ends of
Yeah.
the spectrum, and they're used in cohesion together to share more impact or get more impact, build more impact and then earn more money too. Awesome, man. So yeah, let's dive into kind of your program that we developed together and then the results that you're experiencing now, financially, and then just even fulfillment and satisfaction and how you are mentally, in present day.
Yeah. So thank you. And then my program is called Value Economics Academy. So it's basically going to be an extension of my first book, Value Economics. And to give, I think a first brief synopsis would be appropriate going into the description of the business. But the book Value Economics, Study of Identity, was built because I think identity is the biggest question in our culture currently right now, when we're looking to who should I be, who should I align myself with, who do I identify as, what do I identify as. And so particularly in our or my generation, you might be young millennial, old Gen Z. I'm very old Gen Z, so we're right on the cusp of kind of that area of people, just people I would say coming up now in their late teens, 20s, and early versions of that. We're kind of having to ask ourselves these really, really tough questions. And I found that really no one had the answer for that, because a lot of people don't know who they are at the core of their personality. And I think if you don't know who you are at the core of personality, it doesn't matter. If you don't understand who you are, then how can you? That's kind of how I pitched my book, actually, was that I said that this is the book that you need to read before you read any other self-help book ever. Because you have, how can you help yourself if you don't know who you are and what you want? I think it's a pretty fundamental question to ask, and I don't think a lot of people know the answer to that question. So my answer to that question, which I proposed in the book, was that you need to base your identity on a firm set of values, use your values to craft your identity, and use your identity to help make decisions and accomplish things throughout the course of the world from a value-driven perspective. And so that was the way I framed the book out. It resonated with a lot of people. And in Value Economics Academy, it's really split into a couple of phases throughout 12 weeks. It's a 90-day program where we get to know, really in the first month, we get down really deep and do a lot of really deep internal work into your values and into your identity as a whole type of person. So we basically get to answer the whole questions that we asked throughout the book throughout the first month. And then the back half in the last 2 months, the second month of the program is going to be, okay, we're not going to just talk about this. We're going to prove this and be actionable about what your identity and your values currently get you. And so what I thought was interesting is that a lot of people know about Sigmund Freud and all of his work that he did with psychoanalysis and, childhood trauma and things of that nature. But a lot of people don't know about one of his counterparts named Alfred Adler, who was also a psychoanalyst and did a lot of work in terms of, your mindset and your state of being and everything. And his philosophy diverged from Freud by saying that your identity is primarily composed of where you choose to go, how you forecast your life out, what goals you're going to achieve. So my goal is to be future or or I would say my mission with Value Economics Academy is to take more of an Adlerian approach about proving your identity out in the world by setting firm goals and really reaching for those things about who you could become, not necessarily what you were or who you are currently, because I think that's almost kind of reductive in a sense. So the second month of the program is basically going to be using your values and your value-based identity and the decisions you make around it to get really clear on your current biggest life goal you have, whether that's starting a business, writing a book, improving top line revenue, doing things that you want to do, and really understanding, one, is that actually what you want to do, or is that something that maybe outside pressure is kind of conforming you to say that you want to do? And then two, really defining it and getting every aspect of it out of the way. What does it look like? How do you feel when you're here? Why aren't you happy currently now? Why do you want this thing? And then the last month of the program is basically going to be militantly optimizing your life in order to give you a framework and factor of success to get yourself the best chance to achieve that goal at the end of the day. So it's not based on anything that's from a social media post, from your parents, from your childhood. It's all going to be about you having the most personal agency possible. And then I think once people start knocking down some of these big goals, it will give you the confidence to say, well, why can't I do this with everything else? Why can't I have a lot of other smaller goals that I can take on with this and really kind of architect my lifestyle around this whole program and everything else? So it's about getting you the foundation and then getting you the farthest that your foundation can get you so that everything around your goal setting process and your plan for architecting your life becomes very easy on the back end.
Big time. Well, it's super all encompassing. And how clear were you on all that when we first got started?
Not really at all, honestly. I thought I was going to be basically just, I kind of cringe at the word, life coach or whatever, but like that's kind of, what this is eventually going out to be. The goal thing, I believe, might have been your idea. And so I never really got in terms of like, I never had that prove it element of everything. I thought it was just going to be me regurgitating a lot of the book stuff before I went in with you and you kind of pushed me in the direction saying that that's not good enough. We need to do something more. We need to deliver more value to these people. We need to kind of get something that they can really, really bank on. And so with you pushing me in that direction, we kind of really hammered out the back end goal portion, which ended up being the whole back 2 months of the program instead of the all 3 months in general. And so that was really huge in terms of mining that extra value out of the program. And I think that's what I've heard from feedback from some of my initial clients is that, I'm really excited about the life optimization portion. I'm really excited and some of the goals that people have told me have been really, really kind of wild. I don't want to say anything, too specific, but they've said anything from like, let's optimize this business procedure. Let's go and kick this bad habit that I have. Let's go and write this book or start this business or do whatever. And I'm far from an expert in all of those things. But what I do know is that the system works because I've used it to optimize so many other areas of my life that my goal is not to get everyone's goal accomplished because that would kind of, I think, be self-defeating in a way if I was saying I'm going to be this genie that magically goes around and solves all of your problems for you. But what I can do is best equip you from the way I best know how from a value-driven standpoint with a concrete system that's worked for me in all areas of my life, and then just send you on your way and give you the confidence that I didn't do this for you, but you did this for yourself.
And that's where the power is too. You're equipping them with the roadmap and with the tools for them to then carry on even after the 90 days to keep doing it for themselves rather than having to fully lean on you to give them all the juice or all the direction to get to that outcome that they desire. Let's quickly talk about some the fun stuff, the money side of things. Where are you at in terms of revenue and how do you kind of see yourself moving forward into the new year, into Q1 and Q2?
Yeah. So basically right now, I just came out of a conference that I had with my men's group from called the Affluent Standard up in Dallas, Texas. I'm currently broadcasting out of Austin. And so I actually had the opportunity, thanks to the leadership team there, to present my business idea on stage along with a lot of other colleagues who did a really, really great job. And so I went up, I kind of did my first pitch. I wanted to offer it to them first because one, I like them genuinely. They're all very, very good friends of mine. And I wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity first. And I knew that they were men of principle, men of action, and men who wanted to take this seriously. And so I offered it up to them first. And I ended up going last. So that was kind of intimidating because, people are, they're hungry. They're kind of like, get me out of here. I want to go do all these other things. So I wanted to make sure I didn't waste anybody's time. But I went up and the best of my knowledge, I did really, really well. And I had a lot of people come up to me after and say, hey, I need to talk to you. I need to do this. I need to talk about everything else. And so when all the dust settled, both from outside marketing that I've done and from the standard sales, I went from $0 in my bank account from this to above $33,000 in my bank account a couple of weeks later. And that's not even people that have, really even committed yet. A lot of people and a lot of all these guys are paying money down. They have deposits who are going to be forecasted throughout the rest of H1 of this upcoming year. And then I have a lot of other guys in the pipelines who are saying, like, look, I want to reserve a spot. I want to put this down. I don't want to let this opportunity slip by. And so that's excluding all of those guys, which will probably tack about, I would say, another 20K on the back end of that as well. So that's really, really exciting.
Amazing, man. And it's so good to hear that. That's obviously the outcome that can make this tangible, but I'm sure you feel fulfilled and confident just beyond the money that you're able to move something forward into the new year too.
Yeah, and I think basically like I want the biggest thing I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, the biggest thing with me was not that the book sold a lot or even that the program sold a lot. Like I want to do something that matters. I want to do something that really helps people. And I know this helps people because I've heard of it. And my book was kind of my almost experiment that I ran in the world. And I use that as my control group from this new experience or experiment that I'm running with this academy that I'm kind of starting up from nothing. And the impact has been, what's been most rewarding to me. And so the money is nice, but I would say I'm going to genuinely help people accomplish a lot of cool stuff. At least that's the hope and the goal. And I don't work with everybody. I want to make sure that these guys are serious about everything. And so, I'm the guys in my first cohort that's kicking off on January 1st are all killers, and I know they're going to crush it.
Amazing, man. Well, glad you yeah, I mean, we talk about it on the program, but the idea of just like qualifying and making sure that you honor your time and energy and making sure you're not just letting anyone and everyone in the program or even have your time to speak about it because it's valuable and your time's valuable. And then you put those right pieces in place to qualify the right people. So love to hear that you're taking action on all that. And obviously you're reaping all the fruit of all the seeds that we planted a couple months ago. So, a couple last parting questions just to get clear on. Is there anything that like surprised you about the program, about my delivery, anything that was, better than you expected, or anything you could kind of touch upon on that front?
I was talking about this with somebody yesterday. I think it might have been my friend Jeff, who is looking to maybe either he wants to write a book and then kind of do a life coaching thing off of it after at the end of this year. He might be one of my clients actually. So if Jeff, you're seeing this, then invest and do whatever. We'll work on it together. But so we were kind of talking about it earlier, and I said the one thing I would describe, we were talking about you in the program, and the one thing I would describe Owen's program and you as are overwhelming in the best way possible because you gave me kind of just so much ammunition. It was kind of like, when like Rambo breaks into the truck when he's going back for whatever, he has all the things back in there. And so it was almost like I don't even know what to kind of pull out first in terms of all these things, but you gave so much in terms of your content, your actionable steps, just the ideas, the inspiration from everything. And I think honestly, just you being and presenting yourself as, kind of, to, borrow a term from you have kind of the authority in terms of you've done this before with your Instagram following with Unleash the Knowledge. You've built up this other Instagram for this program specifically that you're kind of helping push content out to. So a lot of people trust you. You've worked with a lot of really notable people, and also that, the content was very, very valid. And I thought that basically if I even make this back for whatever, I want to do, then I'll be very, very lucky. But I think overall, it's been something that I've, obviously now from, the cash flow that's going to be coming in my account in the next couple of months, like I've 6x'd it at minimum. So, I mean, that's going to be, that's awesome. So I think the one surprising thing was that, the over delivery was very, very interesting because I've never invested with a coach before this. I never really did anything in terms of a formalized program. I thought they were all kind of scammy, to be honest with you. But I mean, yours was very different just from the presentation, the delivery, and just the professionalism.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like the name, I put accelerator in the name for good reason, and I try to set expectations as best as possible that this will be an accelerated approach because I don't want to waste your time. Hopefully, you don't want to waste mine. And I
Yeah.
think just a lot of programs or a lot of things in general just take a really long time from point of sale to the point of getting the outcome that you desired for why you even took the step forward. So that's all good to hear. I haven't heard that quite the way you position it. So really glad to hear that and can definitely spin that out as some good content too. Um, One last parting question, man. I mean, hey, if there's a nonfiction author watching this, business or self-help author, they're on the fence. What would you kind of tell them from where you were? I know you were probably even skeptical in the very beginning too. Everyone kind of naturally has that with any high ticket program. You've already kind of alluded to some things that built trust in both of us that or helped you make the decision ultimately. But what could you say to that person who knows they need this, knows that the book selling is not going to get them to the wealth that they desire or even the impact, but they have something else to share and they want to kind of craft this program, and they rather not do it themselves.
I would say just trust the receipts. Trust the receipts and then trust yourself inside of everything else. I mean, I think that, I remember telling you in the middle of the program, like I want to be one of the people that is one of your reference customers, that one is, it kind of advocates for you on the back half because you've been very good to me. At least I hope I was a good customer of yours. You've been a very good, person that I've invested with as well. And so I want to make sure that, a lot of people just know the value that you offer. And so what I would say is that, obviously do your research, do your due diligence, but I think that this is going to become something, especially in the area of alternative publishing that we've entered into, that's going to be more and more common. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are kind of saying, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to be automatically doing this, but there is a little bit more work on the back end. And so knowing that that work has to be done and that there are people that are going to help you do that is going to be very, very critical. So I would say if you're on the fence, look at me, look at someone like Jeff Wickersham, look at a lot of other people that are doing, a lot of good work with you guys. And so I would say, and also trust the receipts, but also trust yourself. Like, I think that there was a thing in me where it's like, I know I can do more with this. And I think a lot of authors, they do it, especially in the nonfiction space, because they want to provide impact. And so just know that you're kind of selling yourself short in a lot of ways if you don't invest in this and really don't take it seriously to provide value in different ways via this offer. And so I would say, get in while the getting's good. I know, a lot of things are probably going to change in terms of your price points and things like that, as they should, from what you offer later. But I would say for someone who's really on the fence now, just listen to Owen and see what happens, because I think it'll be good things.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, Sam. Appreciate it, man. Yes, you were an awesome client, an awesome person to work with. Loved jamming with you, and there's some more stuff we'll do soon enough too. But appreciate you taking the time here, sharing the good word, and keep wishing you all the good success getting into this new year, man. So keep at it, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Owen. I appreciate it.